Good afternoon. My name is Manny Sinilofsky. I'm a principal at Sinilofsky Romanek Saye. Delighted to present this presentation to you so that you can be delighted and, for that matter, be excited with the upcoming Griffin Square to be located at 7780 Griffin Road. Griffin Square is on the south side of Griffin Road, east of University Drive, and for that matter, it is actually east of Southwest 78th Avenue. You can see in this image that Orange Drive runs parallel to Griffin. You can also see that to access the site, you're going to be coming east from the west side in order to enter the project. The project is unique because it actually gives access to the existing residential community to the east and to the south. That community is called Saddle Bridge, and there is a private driveway that is called Sundance Way that literally accesses the residential communities through our property. There is an easement that allows that traffic to flow, and for that matter, the same easement gives access to our site. In this image, you can see that to the west of Southwest 78th Avenue is an existing CVS, and to the west of the CVS is University Drive. It's important for you to know that previously on this site, there were various site plan applications that were reviewed and approved by the town of Davie. The first one, approved in 2006, was a 20,000 square foot office use in a two-story building. The building fronted Griffin Road, and all of the parking that supported the 20,000 square feet of office use was to the rear on the south side. Shortly thereafter, there was a site plan application that was submitted and approved by the town for a 7,550 square foot banking center. This center, although a one-story building, had a significant canopy that allowed for as many as 30 vehicles to queue on site in order to receive banking services outside the conditioned building. This site plan application was actually approved in October 18th of 2007. With this site plan application, there was a plat note that in effect recorded the bank use, and for that matter, identified the 7,550 square feet of building square footage. As part of our application, we are not only applying for a site plan approval of Griffin Square, we are also applying for a plat amendment that would change the bank use of 7,550 square feet to allow our 13,000 square feet of commercial use as per our proposed application. As I told you previously, Sundance Way is a private driveway that literally gives access to the community south of us and west of us, and that private driveway literally crosses our property in the northeast corner. That being said, I want to remind you that Griffin Square will offer a dynamic mix of office space, retail shops, and we'll have room for small food establishments. We'll provide significant landscaping, and all of our parking is in effect surface parking accessible from the rear of the building, literally on the south side of the property. Our building is consistent with the Griffin Corridor architectural guidelines. We've embraced those guidelines with our project. We have sited the building, placed the building, and massed as far as building massing to celebrate the goals and the general requirements of the Griffin Road corridor, which in effect proposes that we bring our building close to the right-of-way to Griffin Road so that we can emphasize the corridor and, for that matter, celebrate the experience for both the pedestrians that can be using the sidewalk system or the vehicles that are traveling along Griffin Road. It's important for you to remember that our site, in effect, contributed about 14% of our lot area to a 16-foot right-of-way dedication along Griffin to create a right turn lane into, if you will, the master plan that included residential projects to the south and to the east. And in addition to that dedication, we're providing a 50-foot wide access easement over our property, which in effect became Sundance Way. The implication of these extractions in effect was that we reduced our developable property by 14%. As a result of that, we are going to require 3 waivers and 1 variance, and we're justifying those by virtue of the reduced resulting site. The first waiver occurs in 3 locations, and that is that the required 40-foot landscape buffer, which is a combination of landscape and sidewalk, that should occur along the north property line, along the west property line, and along the east property line, have been reduced. They're reduced specifically because of the dedication that we've provided and the easement that we've provided. Nonetheless, what we did do with support from staff is align our north building so that it literally runs continuous with the buildings to the east, and we aligned our west building with the buildings to the south, so that although we are providing a little bit less of a landscape buffer, the continuity of the corridor is not missed. As it relates to the second waiver, the open space requirement in effect is 40%, and we are providing 36.39%. The difference of 3.61% is literally as a result of losing 14% of our property to the dedication and to the access easement. The third waiver that we're requesting happens along the north and the west property lines. It's identified as number 3. And that waiver is so that we can slope that landscape buffer. Currently, the corridor requires that buffer to have a 20-to-1 slope, meaning that it's quite flat. And the reality, for a number of reasons, including drainage and including architectural interests, and for that matter, landscaping, our slopes in effect are greater than that. Those are the 3 waivers. And in addition to those 3 waivers, we have 1 variance, and that is number 4. As you can see, on the south side of the property, we've provided not only the landscape buffer that's necessary, but we've provided an 8-foot wall to create separation, if you will, between us and our neighbors to the south. But we have not provided this on the west side. If you look at the number 4, to install a wall literally along our east property line would be very, very difficult. It would create problems in terms of visual conflicts for pedestrians and, for that matter, for vehicles. So the wall that we're providing along the south property line is not being provided along the east property line, so we can actually have a comfortable transition and we can have transparency between our projects and our neighbors. It's important for you to know that we're accentuating our building and our landscaping so that, in effect, the pedestrian experience and the pedestrian convenience along Corridor Road is highly successful. Further, we have architectural elements that respond to the authenticity and the traditional character of the Griffin Corridor guidelines. They're as follows. We follow the master landscape plan that's already been developed for Griffin Corridor, and that exists to the east of us primarily. Our building walls have a stucco finish or a simulated siding finish consistent with the guidelines of the Griffin Corridor. We have projecting elements such as canvas awnings and aluminum marquees. The building details include framed aluminum storefronts that have non-reflective glass. We are identifying piers, vertical elements that stand out in the elevation, and we have strong horizontal panels over the storefronts. These are all candidly part of the architectural elements of the guidelines that we are following. On the facades, we have a series of columns that occur every time the building steps forward or step back, and we have a continuous cornice along the top of the parapet. The signage that is intended to be backlit with reverse channel lettering, a lot of people refer to it as halo lighting, will use a Cosmic Sans font, which is within the font family that's permitted by the guidelines. Ultimately, our lighting will be consistent with the Old Town fixture and the vintage bases that are proposed in the guidelines. The building colors, as far as paint, are a series of whites, grays, and terracotta for accent purposes. These elevations show you symmetrical post-lintel construction. You can carefully look at the simulated siding. You can look at the stucco. You can see the columns where the buildings move in and out. You can see the piers. You can understand the canvas awnings as well as the aluminum marquees, aluminum canopies over every entry door. In the next image, you'll understand how robust our landscaping is and how well integrated it is to the project to the south, and for that matter, to the east, where we've carefully knitted our proposed landscaping with the existing landscaping so that it really works very, very well together. This is an image similar to the original opening image of our 3D model for the project. We've actually ghosted the landscaping so you could understand a little bit better the movement of the building, for that matter, the textures, the colors. And if you were to visit our project during the early evening at sunset, during what a lot of people refer to dusk or twilight, you would see an image similar to this one that would actually be a wonderful addition to the Griffin Quarter. With that, we complete our presentation. If you do have any questions or you do have any comments, please contact Manny Sinilofsky at msinilofsky@sinilofsky.com. The number for Manny is 954-961-6806, or contact Jose Saye at jsaye@sinilofsky.com. The same number, 954-961-6806. Appreciate your participation and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you and have a great evening.